This is Just Bob Bowman, and I'm coming at you with another video. I haven't done videos in a while. Like I said, I've been taking a break and been focusing on other things going on in my life. Um, my best friend got married. He's about to move overseas. Myself, currently, I'm on vacation in Cartagena, and I've been wanting to do this video, and it's been on my heart. And now that I have some free time alone, I want to talk about something that I hold true and dear to my heart. And it's something personal. And it's something that I went through very recently. And right now, I'm on a new phase in my life of figuring out exactly where to go from that point. And what I'm talking about is arrested development and breaking it at a later age. Now, I didn't realize that I was under a form of arrested development until 2020, when my world crashed and fell apart, and the delusions that I've lived in for so many years, it all went away. And then I was left with nothing but shattered dreams and shambles of a life. And really coming to that point to where I had to admit to myself that I didn't know who I was as a person. And that I have spent a lot of time trying to live up to the expectations that were placed on me by others, and unrealistic expectations that I placed on myself. And I wasn't able to live up to those expectations, and I failed miserably, and I was being shunned and ostracized in society, and I didn't really know how to deal with it. And it was some things that I had to come into realization. And that's one, is that, when I was born, and this is no disrespect to my parents or anything like that, but I wasn't born for the right reasons. And I heard the story between what happened between my mother and my mother and my father by both sides. And when I finally understood exactly what happened, I realized that both my parents were young. They were trying to figure out things in this world and in this society. And they had me during that process of what it is that they're going through. And I can't fault them and I can't blame them. They did the best that they could. But now that I'm at an older age, it's up to me to fix what's wrong in my life. And it's not their responsibility, because I'm an adult at this point. And that's one thing that I had to come into a conclusion. And there were certain things that I was taught growing up. There were certain things that I wasn't shown or taught growing up. And it affected me along the ways of my life. And individuals thought that if they concealed certain things from me and taught me other things, that it would kind of force me into being the type of person that they wanted me to be. And it didn't work out that way. Or they thinking that they could control me as far as how I maneuver, whether or not I have a family or children. And I had to realize that for a long time I was under complete control, even though I was fighting against it. But it was nothing that I could do about it, because one thing that I had to learn is that sometimes in life you don't have control over a situation. The only thing that you have control over is yourself and your emotions and the way that you move. And once you figure that out and you make the correct choices in life, and not just any choices, not the choices that's going to destroy you, because that's going to be your fault as well. And I made choices earlier in my life that almost destroyed me. And I had to come to that realization that even though I had all this other bad stuff happen to me, it was my fault that I was making these bad choices, because I was allowing this negativity to make me make these bad choices. You see, growing up, I was told that it was up to me to become wealthy and to support everybody in my family. You know, it was on my shoulders, and I had to figure out what I needed to do. And I had that expectation that I was going to do it. Like, I was going to become this wealthy person. Not only that, that I was going to have a beautiful wife, a white picket fence, big house, you know, the whole 9 yards of how everybody looks at the American dream. I was like, I'm going to do that regardless of the environment that I grew up in, regardless of the situation that I was in, and the circumstances that I was born into. But regardless of that, I was like, I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be this person. I tried to get into sports. I was decent at wrestling. I sucked at football. But I was like, okay, I didn't make it in sports. Let me try rapping, you know, and now that I'm older, I'm like, I had a snowball's chance in hell, even if I got decent, because it's so much that goes on along with it, like politics and things of that nature. And same thing with, you know, being influenced to get married, and then my wife was like, I want a man of God, you know, I want you to be in the church, I want you to be a pastor one day, and trying to go into that route. It didn't work out for me because that wasn't for me. But then I also joined an organization, and I was like, well, if I get in this organization and I'm being this type of person and I'm doing all this stuff, somebody is going to recognize it, what it is that I'm doing, and they're going to pull me up to the position that I need to be in. And I was really thinking that this was going to happen because this is what was told to me. But at the same time of me doing all this good stuff, I was also doing a lot of stuff that was detrimental to me and my health and everything like that. And I had to deal with the consequences of it. I had to deal with the consequences of overgiving myself, of expending all of my energy for other people while I was getting nothing in return. Now, I had some people try to help me out here and there, but it wasn't the amount of help that I needed. And I needed to help myself first before I helped out anybody else, but I wasn't in that mind frame of doing that. I was thinking that people would see my hard work and they'll pull me up. But no, they expected more hard work out of me. They expected more out of me. They expected more effort out of me while giving me nothing. It was like pretty much I was a battery that they saw that eventually I was going to get drained, but they didn't care. It was all about what it is that they wanted. And as far as dating, the women didn't respect me. And even if I had the same talking points of so-called Derrick Jackson, they wouldn't look at me like a Derrick Jackson because I'm not that guy. And so I had to come in the reality of how it is that I was seen by society, where it is that I was placed at in society, and who it was up to fix what was going on in my life. I had to take the hand of my father, who I really didn't want to at the time. I had to learn from him because I really needed him at that point. And I was 38, about to turn 39. And I had to deal with what it is that I was going through, and I had to heal myself. And I had to admit that I tried too hard to impress people. I had to admit that I did so much damage to myself. Through the grace of God, I was able to overcome it. You know, I had to slow down my drinking tremendously to where I'm only a social drinker now. I mainly drink when I'm on vacation. And I might do a little bit drinking at a wedding or whatever. But other than that, I'm not drinking every weekend like I used to, it almost every day like I used to when I was in the Navy. It's because I have responsibilities. I have a lot of things that I have to keep in mind about keeping my life in order, my finances in order, my health in order. You know, so it was more of me growing up and realizing that I'm not going to be rich overnight, if ever. It's going to take a lot of hard work. I might never make it to the goal that I want, I may never even marry the type of woman that I want, but I still got to live this life and I still got to do the best that I can. And I have to get out of the delusion of how I think things should be and look at how things are. If I don't like how things are, I have to figure out how to make it to the best of my ability, which is why I travel and I do things, and I don't care about the pressures and the standards of other people. And there are individuals that I know personally that don't like how it is that I'm living my life because I'm not willing to live under their expectations anymore. But I'm aware of what's going on, and that makes them even more angry because a guy like me wasn't ever supposed to be aware. I was supposed to stay in that delusion, and I was supposed to be that henpecked simp type of guy, but I broke out of that mold at a later age, at 38, going into 39. I broke out of it, and people seeing that, they like, man, he was supposed to be this, this, and this, and he's not that. We can't control him the way that we thought we should be able to control him. He's useless to us, so we're going to make sure that he's always on the outskirts and on the outside. And I thank them for putting me on the outskirts and outside, because now I get to really focus on myself even more. I get to build myself up even more. I may never have a family, but guess what? I'm still alive, and I'm going to continue on this journey until the Most High say that it's time for me to go. And that's where I'm at. I have to admit that I made all those mistakes, even when I knew that I was making a fool out of myself, dating the type of women that I was dating, even though I knew that it like they weren't the correct person for me. Even when I got married to somebody who I knew I shouldn't have got married to, but I was trying to live up to a certain ideal or standard. Me trying to dress a certain way, me trying to be pleasant and be friendly to everybody. I don't have to do any of that stuff anymore. I could just be myself 100% now, because I broke out of that arrested development that I was in. And just because I'm not nice to everybody doesn't mean that I'm not cordial to everybody. But at the same time, when somebody bats my hand away when I, give it out in respect to them, I have to respect that and leave them alone. You see, there was a woman who I asked out on a date well over a year ago, and she never responded, and she kind of brushed me off. But then she found out that I knew what was going on in the world from a heterosexual black man point of view, and she took offense to that, and she has an issue with me even up until this point. I mentioned that I was going to come out here to Columbia, and I saw the look on her face when I mentioned that, when we were around associates. And that let me know right then and there that it's always going to be that type of animosity towards a person like me. This is my struggle. This is what I have to go through. But I'm also aware that there's individuals out here in this world that's going through so much worse than what I'm going through. There's people going through war and famine and having their families ripped apart from them and other things and other circumstances that's even worse than what it is that I'm talking about. So that's just a part of me maturing, and I share this with you just in case you're finding yourself going through that situation and you don't know how to handle it, you don't know what to think about it. Just know that there's many other people that's waking up to the society and the situation that they're living in, and they're getting out of the bubble that they've lived in for so many years. It doesn't mean that I can't write any songs. It doesn't mean that I can't have fun. What it means is that I have to just be aware of exactly the position that I'm at and learn how to deal with that position to the best of my ability, and possibly I can move up another level. Because I didn't expect to move up from the level that I was in 5 years ago to this level that I'm at now, but it happened. And through that 5-year process, I had to go through a lot of maturing. And now that I'm approaching my mid-40s, I'm like, all right, now that I understand what happened to me, I'm not trying to play catch up anymore because it's pointless at this point. The best thing for me to do is to just do the best that I can. And if other people don't like it, so be it. But with that being said, this is just Bob Bowman. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'm out.